Well, I'm going to try this one more time. This is my shoes I wore hiking, freezing. Well, no, excuse me, I didn't even have these. I had tennis shoes. These are some I bought a year and a half ago, and I'm still wearing them, the only pair I have. This is a backpack, like some of the backpacks that I threw on, and this is a gas mask that gassed me. And no, this is no joke. It is to the Americans. This is Elizabeth, who works for the American government, not the British. This is Obama, who was. There's a question if he was born in Kenya or Hawaii. There's his good friend, the Kennedy, Caroline, up for ambassadorship. This is JFK, her father, who that was a mind control murder, and they don't tell about it, the Warren Commission or anybody, because it'd lead back to what they've done to me. Um, I was kidnapped in 41. I'm Queen Victoria II, the legal heir. My father, King Edward VIII, was taken out by her father, my uncle, George VI, and thus they are illegal. And my own uncle helped kidnap me, and the Kennedy, Joseph, the grandfather, her grandfather was ambassador from 36 to 46, helped Roosevelt and my uncle in the New World Order kidnap me and bring me and give me the name of a twin in Moulton, Alabama. And I didn't find out until 83 about my kidnapping and identity. And I had worked for doctors, and I had written about mind control used to murder. And I had all the ins and outs and was trying to sell it only to get antifreeze put in me on April Fool Day of 80. And I was across the state line illegally working, but I did get a job for the district attorney, Fred Simpson. Simpson is associated with my father was supposed to have abdicated and become um, the Duke of Windsor and married Wallace Simpson, which was a lie. He was an imposter. So they took down my father and kidnapped me. And the point I'm trying to make here is that I've been gassed everywhere I've lived, and I wanted to focus on it's how it's been done, and you don't go to the cops, they're in on it. It's how it's been done, but I'm going to focus on Bedford, Virginia, right next door. I moved over there, and Terry Sawyer was the person that's helped in these places where I've been able to get a place to live, and I've been gassed in all of them. But Bedford, he took me over there, took me out to Happy's Flea Market, and I paid for the little old mattress that was thrown on the back of a truck and hauled over there. And Joseph's Way is funded, it's a HUD. I have to live in a low income, and now I can't even get that. But the Reverend Moore is a black reverend out of North Carolina, Washington, North Carolina. He owns a whole bunch of these, and they're federally funded, so that's where the feds can come in on it. And that doesn't mean he has a right to commit criminal acts, but they have against me. But hey, who's looking? I don't know, Tom Hanks. He likes the War Memorial in Bedford that I had to look up out my back window every day for 7 months in Bedford. While I lived there and was gassed, I had to watch the British flag being flown side by side with the American flag while they crammed it down the British's throats, and my throat too, the legal monarch. What much more can you do to the British? You have stolen their monarch and brought me over here. You've installed your own monarch, which is George and Elizabeth, and you put your bases, military bases, all over everything British. Now, before I go, I'm going to finish there, because I want to go back to the shootings in Nairobi, Kenya. Kenya was a colony, as was Rhodesia, British colony. So it's part of the Americans controlling everything British. The elite forces just sent in there. I think they were on foot. I'm not sure, according to the news, but they were the elite forces brought in to surround Westgate Mall and the shootings there. And guess who trained them? The United States government trained them. Not the British, the United States government trained them. So they have taken away, that's where Elizabeth actually became illegal monarch. And I don't know about Obama, whether he was born there or not, but I'm the one that has the fake birth certificates from here. I have to use twins' birth certificates. Whether I have one on file in London, I don't know. Or if they've destroyed that, bless your heart, Elizabeth. Money hungry. Okay, and the JFK was done in, maybe I said that, mind control patterns. But back to the Westgate Mall. That's very much in the patterns and the timing and all of it. And it can be proven if I live through this. I'm 75. I don't know. I've been put through hell every day of my life. But I guess that's what I meant to say, along with Rhodesia and everything else. It's become property of the United States government. Really controls it. Australia, they've got Area 51. What all have they got strewn all over what was British? I did want to say this, and I may be reiterating before I go. Andrew Young, the Reverend out of Atlanta, who was with Martin Luther King, and you ask yourself, well, wasn't James Earl Ray or the whole thing there in patterns and a person programmed to shoot? And of course, they paid for the crime. But Andrew Young was appointed by Jimmy Carter. Remember, I lived at that time in Marietta, Georgia. Jimmy Carter was president, and he appointed Andrew Young to the United Nations ambassador. Andrew Young, and I don't know who else, civil rights leaders, got money and industry in the South, into Rhodesia in South Africa. In essence, it allowed them a foothold to take over. Well, there's the diamond mines and all this other that's there. So it allowed them to get a foothold in there, and they installed Nelson Mandela. Of course, they don't tell you what they were doing to me back here in Atlanta during that time. And by the way, Mrs. King, I asked to see her in '82, and you should see what had been done to me, the antifreeze and all this, and where I was living on the street, where I'd had a home in Marietta. I went to Mrs. King's, and I refused to leave, even though I was afraid they'd have me locked up. And she sent out a young man, black man, that was supposed to be next to her, I guess in order of whatever, rank or something. But he came out and he actually asked me to step outside. And then he talked to me, and it's the text of what he said. He said, we know about mind control. He said, a friend of mine, and he mentioned Rhodesia, which at the time didn't mean anything to me because I hadn't found out about being kidnapped and that I'm the real monarch. He said something about a doctor of, I've forgotten what, had a root canal in South Africa, and when he came home, he took a flying leap and bashed into the wall. And believe me, with mind control, they can make you do anything, and the synchronicity to it and the force, you wouldn't believe. So he bashed himself into the wall, and who gets blamed for it? Well, they knew about it. They knew about mind control. He stood there and said it. And I went to Reverend Andrew Young, because he had become mayor at that time of Atlanta. You know what? I went in and I sat there, and he refused to see me. They all knew before I did who I am, that I'm the legal monarch, and civil rights. Where have been all the civil rights leaders, black or white, and what's happened to me? Or the women's NOW, it used to be. None of them helped me. I can't even get an attorney. And by the way, what about the blacks that have been affected in the mind control murders? Wayne Williams, O.J. Simpson, Brian Nichols. There's lists and lists of them. Well, the shooter just in the Navy Yard, he didn't suddenly just start hearing voices. The people programming him allowed him to. So if this is ever told, can you see where the Congress people, the psychologists that are up here making all these lies really on TV are going to look like? Anyway, that's it.